America, I tend to traditionally just say America, but we have Canada here as well. What we'll do is tease out what's happening in 2017, the trends these guys are seeing, the trends in the airport, and the airport experience has been transformed for people that are flying out to the West. And we will then, after I've talked through a couple of the topics, this is your show. I'm not going to be asking all the questions. We have roving mics. If you're a little bit shy, these people, as you saw with Robin just leaving there from Ryanair, there's a lot of people who might be a little bit too shy to make a public statement over it with a microphone, but they will be here and available for you immediately afterwards. I'm going to start on this side of the couch with Ivan. What's happened in the last 3 or 4 years in Aer Lingus has been extraordinary. I do remember at one of these questions and answers sessions asking Aer Lingus if they would be flying ever again to the West Coast. But we've seen Aer Lingus grow their transatlantic number of routes exponentially and also their frequency. And it's going to be another big year in 2017, Ivan.
Yeah, thanks, Eoghan. Aer Lingus, as you mentioned, was doing a number of routes up until a couple of years ago. I can remember a time when we were just selling New York, Boston, Chicago, just a couple of years ago, which was 3 US routes. This year we're going to have 13 different routes out of Ireland to the US.
13 routes with Aer Lingus alone.
North America, I should say, with Toronto being the only one outside of the US. We've added extra capacity on routes such as Orlando, which is very popular with families, extra capacity on New York with the addition of Newark, New Jersey last year, and we're going to be double daily on Chicago for the full summer this year. Extra capacity, as I mentioned, on the Orlando will be kicked in from April until October, so going from 3 to 4 days per week to Orlando direct, and then from the 1st of September we're going to have an extra 3 flights per week to Miami. So you will have a daily flight to Florida from September onwards.
So this is big news. It's Miami coming from September.
Miami starting on the... Thanks. Miami starting on the 1st of September. We're going to be operating 3 days a week. And that's for the duration of the next couple of years, hopefully. We also started new routes last year, including Los Angeles, which came back in on 4 days per week. And this summer, we're finding that Los Angeles is very popular with the fly drive holidays on the west coast of the USA. So that's going to a daily service from May of this year. So
Los Angeles daily from May.
Yeah, so west coast, as you mentioned earlier, will we ever be flying there? We're going to be daily to Los Angeles and daily to San Francisco from May of this year. I suppose that's the key point, that we have an extra 21% of seats to the US and North America this year. Overall, we'll have 2.5 million seats going to North America. That's 1.25 each way.
So you're really going to 2 sides of Florida now, which and what's the attraction of Miami? Are you going to be able to link into all those marquee, that South American routes that American run out of?
I suppose in the long run it will link us in with our partner airlines and connect people to Central and South America. But for the first kickoff, I would imagine that it would be people going to just the south of Florida and people that are going to be taking advantage of some good cruise operators and good cruise fares.
And you get in the evening, isn't it, overnight, and then get the cruise ship the following day?
Yes, correct, yeah. If you arrive in on a Friday and the cruise departs on a Saturday, and you arrive back in on port on a Saturday, and then you have a flight home on a Sunday. I
think most travel agents overnight people in Miami anyway, for a reason that it doesn't put stress on trying to get onto the ship. Catherine, one of the more unusual routes that popped up was this flight to Halifax on the Atlantic coast of Canada. And it is an amazing route because it is not that much further than a flight from Dublin to the Canary Islands would be.
Yes, Eoghan, I'm delighted to share with you and with our visitors here to Holiday World our new flight and news of it, starting the end of June, operating until the end of August. We're taking advantage of the beautiful weather in Nova Scotia. Dublin Halifax direct, starting at about €571, including all your taxes and charges.
That's return, 571.
That's return fare, including your taxes, charges, your baggage allowance of 20 kilos, and a lovely in-flight food service with a flavour of French cuisine and French wines.
Because it originates in Paris, this flight.
The flight originates in Paris. It's operated by ASL Airlines France, which is part of the ASL group,
Which is Irish,
where we headquarter
parent.
in Ireland, in Dublin, indeed.
Excellent. So the French have their standards, so we will be getting that level of in-flight.
First class service, absolute emphasis on customer service, customer quality, safety, and an enjoyable experience.
Tish, your job is to make sure that everybody gets on board the flight and to screen them and to make sure the right people get through. And a lot of development has happened with the pre-clearance in Dublin Airport. We're incredibly proud of our pre-clearance in Dublin and Shannon. But one of the things that you've been doing and have been putting into place has been speeding up that process for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, we are very privileged to work with DAA on lots of innovations. One of the greatest innovations we put forward May 13th of last year, where we brought our automated passport control.
Automated passport.
What we call APC, our automated passport control, outside of our pre-clearance area. We're the only pre-clearance that does this currently. It sped up our queues tremendously this year.
Okay.
We wouldn't be able to do this without the cooperation from Dublin Airport. It's a relationship like no other pre-clearance. I talk to other port directors. They don't experience this type of relationship.
And how does this work? You don't have to sign up for this in advance or anything. You just bring your passport to the machine and scan it. Is that it?
That's right. So not only do we have them outside of our pre-clearance area, we also have them downstairs inside our pre-clearance. All U.S. citizens, U.S. residents, and any ESTA holders that have used that passport once before are welcome to use the automated passport control. It speeds up, the queue times are less than a third the time going through the regular. It's very easy to use. It's not much different than checking in with a self-service kiosk when you're at the airlines itself.
And what happens then? You go up to the officer and he has the details that he would have had to have asked you in front of him, and then he just makes a decision on how long you stay there. Is that it?
Oh, and what it really saves us is the administrative work that my officers would normally do. You're answering your questions on your declaration at the machine. You're taking your fingerprints and pictures. So you're saving that time that the officer would be doing that. That's where the time saving definitely comes in.
And then at the kiosk, he shows you a picture of you. It's the technology is spectacular if anyone hasn't been through it. He shows you a photograph of your bag.
It
says,
does.
Is that your bag?
Right. They joke that it's a selfie of your bag. But what that really does save, not every pre-clearance has this, where again, we're very privileged. You don't have to bring your luggage through CBP and show us your luggage. The airlines takes an image of it. It comes to us via computer. If you're clearing in the United States, you're going to take your luggage and you're going to take that physically in front of the customs officer in the United States. So we're taking that bit out too. A lot of people don't realize you're not having to pull, full luggage carts through. I started pre-clearance back in the 90s, and in Vancouver.
You're not that old, Tish. No.
I was 12 when I started, but you had to bring your physical luggage through, and it was a lot of work because we weren't real close to the ticket counters. So it's an amazing system that we have.
And what this does on the other side, and Ivan will come into it as well, is it brings you into a domestic terminal in America. It means if you're in the situation as I was in T5 and JFK during the summer with a really tight, I think I had 18 minutes to get off an Aer Lingus, which had been slightly delayed, and onto a JetBlue, and I made it. It wouldn't be possible if you were going through pre-clearance. It's only when you see that your bag doesn't have to be brought through customs. It's when you see it in operation and you get used to it, and then you go through London or somewhere else, it's only then you realise what a huge advantage CBP. Tish, the Department of Agriculture gets, I feel sorry for them, they get left out. Everybody says you do immigration and customs, but the Department of Agriculture is also there as well. What do we have to watch out for that? Is that meat and stuff like that?
Our office is actually called Office of Field Operations, and we're made up of immigration experts, customs experts, and agriculture experts. So I have two agriculture specialists that work for me at Dublin Airport. These are scientists. They're very, very bright people. Yes, and they're looking for prohibited food items that can't come into the United States. It would be the same things that couldn't come in if you were post-clearing in the United States, like this lovely orange that you're eating right there. The peels would not be allowed into the United States.
No orange peels.
No orange peels would be allowed into the United States. The meat of the orange actually would be allowed in. And so, yeah, they're looking to make sure pests from foreign countries are not introduced into the United States.
Right. So remember that, the orange peels. So, Ivan, a lovely little route to Hartford, Connecticut. Probably wouldn't have. That seems to be on sale as very, very good value alternative to going into New York and Boston. Certainly in the prices that turned up in January there.
Yeah. Hartford, Connecticut is one of our new routes that launched last year to the US, and we launched it on the 28th of September on a 4 days per week rotation, and for this summer it's going to be on a daily route. A lot of people don't know about Connecticut, but it sits right in between Boston and New York. So if you want to have a New England experience where you've been to New York or you've been to Boston before, it's a beautiful option. A lot of people that I know and have traveled there myself were blown away by what's on offer. It's a 4-season destination, whereas New England in the fall is always noted for the changing of the leaves, but even traveling in the winter is beautiful with the snow that you get up in the northern area. But in the summertime it just gets a really good temperature, so it can be a really good destination. But you're right about the value, because it is less known than Boston or New York. We have to have introductory offers, so you will find offers.
And it's about halfway between the two, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's what I've seen that there's
probably closer to Boston.
Yeah, a little bit closer to Boston, about 90 minutes to Boston and maybe an hour 45 to New York. Train system links 3 destinations, so you can get an Amtrak from one to the other and stop along the way. So what's the lead-in price coming in? Lead-in price that I've seen, and you've probably seen something similar, is around the 450 mark, which is a 450 return. You've got the great pre-clearance facility, so you arrive into a small regional-style airport. It's a doty airport, it really is. Yeah, it's 20 minutes, and car hire is so easy, and everything is. And from what there's different tax rates in different states in the U.S., but car hire companies are less than if you're renting a car in New York, for example, and not running down New York, because that's one of our big destinations. But just if you're looking for value, Connecticut seems to have a lot more value in those kind of items. Let's cut to the chase here. Best prices from Aer Lingus. When are we going to see them? How do we know when you're going to do something like you had a January sale that finished last Monday, I think it was. It's running until the 31st, actually. Oh, right, okay. So you've got a couple of days left to get in on the best offers, but you will still find offers that anything that you find below 500 euros to the US is, I would say, is a really good deal, because it's a big ticket item. But as I mentioned, Hartford and even into New York, into Newark and JFK. There were some sporadic dates where you could get it at 450 or thereabouts as well. And best time to book, best time to book with our January sale that's on right now. You get the best offers, but the best price-wise time to travel is November to March. That's when the prices for flights will go down. And what's the good day? Is Wednesday a better day than Saturday or Sunday? It really depends on the book loads, and once the book loads start going up, the prices go up with it. But you'll find that Tuesdays and Wednesdays, when you might have one flight instead of 2, the prices will work out the same as a day when you might have 2 flights on a Friday or 2 flights on a Saturday. Okay, so fewer flights will mean... it just condenses the availability. Do you sign up on the app or the email list to get the alert, the flash? Either way, if you register your email address with Aer Lingus on our website, whether via your phone, tablet or computer, you will get the regular offers that will advise you of when the Aer Lingus sales are going on. You'll probably get them all year long. And I'm open to questions. Just put your hand up. We have a couple of roving mics. On any aspect, even if airlines aren't represented here, we will endeavour to answer your questions, and we will endeavour to make sure that if we can't answer it that you will not leave the hall without your question being answered. That we've managed to do that every year so far. So come on in the second row here.
Yes, this is a question for both the airline people. Are your prices fixed per leg? In other words, could I do a single trip for half the return fare? And this,
you wanna go
for
first?
both
From
of you.
our perspective, we actually quote one-way fares and return.
You do.
Okay, so obviously from an availability, if a flight is fuller, the cheaper fares won't be available. So our advice would be to book as soon as you have your dates, book as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Aer Lingus?
The answer would be the same for most airlines, and Aer Lingus would be no different.
You price per leg.
I would say that a return flight would probably work out a lot more efficient cost-wise than booking
Yeah, but if
single
I
legs.
want to do a multi-city, travel around and come back home from somewhere else.
Yeah, and we've got that option. Say if you flew into New York and wanted to come back from Boston or Hartford, you have that option to choose in from into one city and out from another. Similarly with into LA or now to San Francisco, a lot of people like to do the West Coast tour, which can be a fantastic way to see the US.
Yeah, or go to San Francisco and fly home from New York. In other words, might travel all across America.
Sure, you can do that as well.
I can do that as
You can
well.
do that in one transaction on our website. The only thing you will have to organise your transport from one West Coast to East Coast or vice versa.
Oh yeah, that would be my holiday, travelling across.
Very good.
Yes.
Sounds like a good holiday.
It still works that booking a return will work out cheaper than going on separately for two one-way fares. Because
Yeah, I mean,
all
I
of
think,
that's changed in aviation in our lifetime.
I think again, 10 years ago we probably would have pushed one-way travel a lot more, but now you'll see that you get the better value of doing a return, whether you break your journey or not. You, as I said, fly to the West Coast and travel across country and back from the East Coast. You'll find better value in including a return journey.
And your relationships with American Airlines, does the same apply? You've got, talk us through them. You've got United and JetBlue.
Currently our partners of travel in the US will be JetBlue, who we partner with from JFK in New York, from Boston, and from San Francisco. And then we also have United Airlines, who we partner with in Washington, in Chicago, LA. So we have great relationships with those, and then we have combination fares that you can get on our website that you'll see that you'll be able to fly to multiple cities across the US. And because of their reach within the US from their hub cities, similar to Aer Lingus having a hub of Dublin Airport where we can connect people from the US to all various parts of Europe, they have the similar product within the US. So they use their hub cities, like say for example Chicago, that United use, where you can connect to 80 or 90 different destinations from that city, and JetBlue the same from New York, JFK.
Catherine invited me to dinner. She asked me out to dinner once, and then she told me that she was bringing me to Canada. It was quite an extraordinary experience. We got on the flight, flew to Nova Scotia. As I say, it was a 5-hour flight or something like that, and went to a lovely lobster dinner in a restaurant, which his other previous claim to fame had been that the fridges were used to store the bodies from the Titanic in 1911 or whatever, and then flew back the following day, and it was a 4.5-hour flight. Tell us about Nova Scotia, Catherine. It's very like the west coast of Ireland.
Very much so, Owen. To put it into context in terms of size, it's 55,000 square kilometres, and if you compare that to Ireland being 84,000 square kilometres, it's slightly smaller. It has a population of the province of about 990 people. Compared to Ireland, it's significantly less. It's a really beautiful destination. It's the second smallest province in Canada on the eastern seaboard, almost surrounded by the ocean. It's got a massive core inventory of attractions, fun outdoor things to do, an amazing landscape, and such a diverse heritage and a fascinating history. And as Owen mentioned, there are a lot of links with the Irish, obviously. Cape Breton Island is very much the Celtic side of the province. And you've got the Nova Scotia Halifax, where you have the Titanic, where all of the victims, unfortunately, were brought there, and many of them are also buried there in graveyards in the city. There's also 25 years ago, when the Waterford Glass factory closed in Ireland, many of the experts and the tradesmen and the craftsmen moved to Halifax in Nova Scotia, and there they produce the finest glass blowing Waterford, well, it's not Waterford, obviously,
Yeah.
the finest glass, and they have their factory there today, and you as a visitor can actually go and visit them.
And Tish, when there's a lot of, losing track of the transatlantic flights that have to go through pre-clearance in June, July, there's an awful lot of them in a very short period of time. You guys must be under pressure. When is rush hour at CBP?
We have two basic peaks of rush hour, but I would say probably some early morning, 7 a.m. till about 9:30.
7 to 9:30. That's
Yeah, but we're able to get processed through within 25 minutes last year. We were very, very efficient at getting the process
so
through.
it really didn't go beyond 25 minutes.
No,
Yeah.
then there's a bit of a second peak from about 11 to, earlier than that. Actually, we have a very short time, and then it peaks again.
Right. So
but-
the two peaks are coming together
Right.
as
What I would...
Ivan's putting on too many flights, really,
Right.
isn't it?
pretty
What
much.
I would really invite people to do is to show up early and come down and have a relaxing flight and come see 51st and Green and enjoy yourself down there.
Ivan, you're on 51st and Green.
Well, that's a Dublin Airport product, you know. So, but
Well,
I'm
we're
quite happy
surrounded by Dublin
quite happy
Airport.
to promote it in Dublin Airport. Great partners of Aer Lingus, and they've opened up a new lounge, the 51st and Green, which is a beautiful facility at the end of the terminal. You can see out at the end of the runway if you imagine yourself there.
You're
you can
surrounded by aircraft when you're sitting in the lounge. They actually go around you.
Yeah, so any aircraft enthusiasts or plane spotters might be sitting out at the edge of the runway taking photographs. You get a better view from inside 51st and Green. But even without going into into that lounge, there are a number of restaurants and bars and cafes down once you go through CBP, which hadn't been there previously. So you can actually sit down and relax once you're through. And as I say, you've got all your formalities done. And when you get to the far side in the US, we've had some customers reporting that they've been off the aircraft and hailing a taxi within 8 minutes. So you can't do that from leaving the RDS here today, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And I'm open for questions. Put your hand up. We've got someone here in the front row. Sorry.
I have a question for Ivan. The session is called Flying West in 2017, but where might we see Aer Lingus going in 2018?
At this point in time, we haven't decided on if we are adding new routes, but the likelihood is that there will be at least one long-haul destination. As you're probably aware, Aer Lingus have been joined over the umbrella group of IAG, who have committed to providing one more destination for over the next 2 years, and it looks likely to be 2018. It's all dependent on availability of aircraft. Miami is starting on the 1st September, as we're getting an aircraft a couple of days before that. So once we have new aircraft, we'll be able to look at different destinations. For the last number of years, everything has been North America, with Toronto and other cities in the US. If I was a gambling man, I would gamble on it being another North American destination, whether that's south part of North America or north of North America. I really couldn't comment at this point in time.
That's interesting. You do have greater access to aircraft now than ever before, because IAG can hand you over an A330 in a whim now.
Which they've done, which is no pressure for the sales team as myself, because we have to fill all the seats. But yeah, they've given us through the IAG strength of purchasing with Airbus, we got 2 brand new A330 aircraft, which give us extra capacity, extra range on the aircraft because they're brand new. There every year the efficiencies of aircraft are better. So when we have an aircraft more efficient, that we can fly to the west coast a lot more. So hence it gives us more seat capacity to the likes of Los Angeles and San Francisco, and with routes of that destination, and with the corporate markets in Ireland and the west coast. We're finding an increased demand and pressure on the business end of the cabin, which we've always struggled with. You know, we don't have enough seats to satisfy the guests. So now we have extra seats with up to 30 seats to the aircraft in the front of the cabin.
and a lot of your it means that a lot of your passengers are transferring from other European countries onto flights in Dublin. So routes that would not have been viable otherwise are now in the play.
Yeah, correct. Like, you know, a case in point would be Hartford, which is in Connecticut, which wouldn't be the number one destination in the US. But we're finding that a lot of European countries, such as the UK, but in Germany, France, Benelux region, are using Dublin as a hub to come in through Dublin, pre-clear customs and immigration with Tish's crew, and have all the formalities done, and then just more pleasurable experience where you can travel as a domestic flight and then arrive, pick up your bag and go.
Right.
You know.
Tish, how important is the zip code? A lot of people actually don't know a zip code in Ireland. We're not familiar with them, but it's one of the little forms that has to be filled in, isn't it? Is it required to actually get it?
The whole address is required. It's all, you can Google it. It's all on Google. You know, as far as the zip codes, but we do need complete addresses. One little part I was going to plug U.S. Preclearance for somewhere like Hartford. If it wasn't for preclearance, you would not see a jet that size going into Hartford. We just said we
couldn't cope with this on the Hartford side.
We have a very small number of CBP officers that work there. So preclearance has opened up destinations that simply could not have happened before. But yes, complete addresses are...
And you need the zip code.
You need a zip code, and you just Google it. It pops up on Google. It's very easy. They actually start on the East Coast with very small numbers and move to the West Coast. There is a
pattern to it.
There is a pattern to zip codes, but it's very easily. If you don't know it, you can Google it.
And what are passengers not doing that you'd like to see them doing at the CBP end? What is there anything that we're not very good at that is slowing down the process?
Again, having the full address is very important. Coming down to us with plenty of time in case there is any issues, that's very important. To have, once you clear security, a lot of people want to put their passport and their ticket back away. You need your passport and your ticket out for U.S. pre-clearance. But usually there isn't a repeat problem. It's just people always seem to be surprised when they see a picture of their bag, especially transferring people. 25% of our passengers that came through pre-clearance last year were transferring. They weren't originating from here. So people are very excited to know that their bag is somewhere nearby, that they can see a picture of it. But no, actually the travelers here are very well educated and do a very well job, especially originating passengers.
Great. And last questions, anybody? We're going to be thanking my guests. We have one question from the back row there.
I'm just wondering about trips to Halifax. How long usually are the trips? Like, how many hours?
How long is the flight?
The outbound flight is 6 hours, and the inbound flight is 5 hours and 20 minutes. So it's very quick, surprisingly fast.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I enjoyed the discussion very much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you very, very much to Catherine and to Tish and to Ivan, and really, really appreciate you giving your time up to share that, and a considerable amount of wisdom was shared with us this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, all.